Okay, so my official prediction that I am forced into by my own network is 286 to 252 Kamala Harris with tons of fingers crossed. And the number one reason why I'm crossing those fingers is because 4 years with Donald Trump will be utter chaos, anarchy, pilfering, oligarchy amplified on steroids, putting his donors completely in charge of the government.
Nostradamus of presidential elections. Historian Alan Lichtman from American University predicted 9 of the last 10 elections correctly. And he has a prediction who will win the Oval Office in 2024. Joining me now on the morning show, Alan Lichtman. It is a pleasure. Appreciate you.
Thank you so much. And I would say 10 out of 10. I think I got 2,000 right, as I proved in my report to the U.S. Commission on Civil Rights. Gore should have won that election, but for the tossing out of black votes.
Who do you think is going to occupy the White House?
According to the keys to the White House, the incumbent Democrats, Harris, the nominee, are down 4 keys. It takes 6 or more false keys to count them out and predict that Donald Trump will return to the White House. That's why my prediction system, with a 40-plus year track record, predicts that Kamala Harris will be a new path-breaking president, the first woman president, and the first president of mixed African and Asian descent. Kind of foreshadowing where America's going. We're rapidly becoming a majority-minority country. Old white guys like me are on the decline.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. I gotta tell you guys, one thing that we have not talked about yet when it comes to the aftermath of this election in which Trump destroyed Kamala Harris, something that I predicted would happen, right? I was telling you guys basically for months now that, hey, Trump's gonna win, right? He's gonna win in a landslide, okay? And lo and behold, he did. I told you that Trump had a good chance of winning the popular vote. I think that Trump's gonna win the popular vote. I got a whole lot of things right, okay? And I am not a so-called political scientist. I'm not a journalist. I'm just some dude on the internet who just likes politics, right? I just study politics. I immerse myself in it every single day. I put my heart and soul into it, okay? I just work hard, right? And hey, I feel like I did a pretty damn good job of getting this right, okay? Despite the propaganda from the polls. I told you guys it was all propaganda, right? But you know, there's some people on the left who have been doing this much longer than I have. They got it really, really, really wrong in regards to the outcome of this election. Even the so-called presidential historians, like for example, Alan Lichtman, who a lot of people claim is the Nostradamus of presidential election predictions, right? And he went into shock after getting his prediction wrong that Kamala Harris would win the presidential election. Take a look.
I can't believe it. I'm kind of in shock right now. I've been
our country.
I've been hopeful this whole time.
I know you've been more hopeful than me.
I think it's gone. It's just not. There's just not enough room to make up. The math isn't there.
No, the math doesn't work. Numbers don't lie. I'm a numbers guy. You're a numbers guy. What point should we pack it in?
Whenever you want.
Well, I'll go to 1 anyway. That'll be what, 5 hours?
Yeah.
Hours. That's pretty good for an old man, huh?
I just can't believe
I'm not worried for myself, but you know, all of these young people.
I just can't believe it.
It is hard to believe.
I just can't believe after this guy has essentially attempted to take down our democracy already, that people want to give him another chance.
Yeah. Oh, the democracy's gone.
Yeah, so that guy claimed that he doesn't let his political bias get in the way of his magical predictions, right? Which, again, apparently are not so magical. And he definitely let his political bias get in the way, for sure, in my opinion. Because his so-called keys are very subjective, right? And, again, it's not an objective analysis. And that's why I kind of knew, I was like, this dude's probably going to be wrong. That's why I had no problems going against him, because I was like, yeah, his keys aren't objective, right? I mean, they're subjective. It's based off his opinion. Clearly he's biased. And a lot of these guys have lost credibility, okay? So much so that apparently their audiences are abandoning them, right? They are leaving in mass. There's a mass exodus from these left-wing propagandists because they were wrong. And leftists don't realize that that's the reason why they're losing people. It's not just because people are disappointed. It's because a lot of these people have lost credibility, right? And David Pakman, who is a leftist, is speaking out about this. He's freaking out, actually. He's saying, as we speak, progressives are tuning out due to understandable despondency over last night's results. I won't speak about others, but I've lost 10,000 YouTube subscribers overnight. When the right loses, they fund operations like Turning Point, invest in media, etc. If we abandon now, we see total control to absolute lunatics. Not a good idea. So David Pakman took to his YouTube channel to talk more about the mass exodus from his channel, right? And other channels as well too. And I want to react to this because these people still do not understand what's actually happening in this country. And it's so funny because they think they're so smart, but they're actually really not. So let's get into it.
Tell you something that is terrifying me. I always try to come here and put a positive face on everything, but there is something going on that is terrifying me. When I woke up this morning, we had lost 5,000 YouTube subscribers compared to where we were last night. So I started texting. And I texted Brian Tyler Cohen. And I texted Tyler Cohen and Brian Cohen and Brian Tyler, all of them. I texted all of them. I texted Jesse Dollemore. I texted Luke Beasley and Farron Cousins and Sam Cedar. And every single one of our channels since last night is hemorrhaging subscribers. It is not just YouTube subscribers. We are seeing record cancellations of paid memberships. Record cancellations. These are the people that keep the show running. Now, for a moment, I thought, if it's just YouTube, maybe YouTube is purging people who are inactive subscribers. And once a year, usually YouTube does this and you see a little decline and then numbers go back up. They're not doing it. They're not doing it. And if that were the case, we wouldn't be seeing paid membership cancellations on the website. So now I understand what is going on. It's terrifying, but it is happening. A lot of people are checking out. I heard anecdotally from a couple dozen people who said, you know, David, I just can't do it anymore. I just can't do it. I'm checking out. I'm out. And the reason that this is terrifying, not only because it puts everybody in left-wing media's livelihoods at stake and at risk, it terrifies me because our instinct is the opposite of what the right does, and we will get crushed if this is the way we respond to a defeat. And so when I lose 5,000 subscribers and Brian loses thousands and Ring of Fire loses thousands and everybody's losing thousands of subscribers. But when we start canceling the subscriptions, we are in an algorithmic desubscription spiral right now. Because when people start unsubscribing on YouTube, YouTube thinks, oh, we probably shouldn't recommend this content because it's generating a lot of unsubscribes. So then the content doesn't get recommended. And then the message doesn't get out.
Yeah, so you guys get the gist of what's going on here, right? I want to make sure I play enough of it so you guys can see the panic, right? Because what it really comes down to is money, right? He's upset. Again, the communist, the socialist, maybe I shouldn't call David Pakman a socialist or a communist. I don't know, but he's very far left, okay? The person that, claims to be, against the rich, is worried about losing money, right? Isn't it funny how that works, right? These people claim to be against the rich, right? And they hate greed and all this other stuff, but they're worried when they're facing the prospect of losing money, because that's ultimately what it comes down to. But once again, you have leftists not really understanding exactly what's happening. You're not losing people because people are checking out, right? If anything, for the left, it's an opportunity, because when the opposite party wins, you can just spend the next 3 or 4 years fear-mongering about everything that the opposite party is doing, right? So it's really not the end, okay? I I just think that what is really happening is that a lot of these people have lost credibility. A lot of people are unsubscribing because they've been misled by these individuals who lied to their audience. Okay. Either they lied or, again, these individuals were just wrong in their analysis of the election, and they gave their audience hopium that Kamala Harris was going to win, making them think that Kamala Harris was doing better than she actually was. They spent the whole election season, really the last 4 years, really being Trump deranged, misleading the audience to think that Trump is a crazy person and that he's losing it, which is a vast majority of David Packman's videos, right? It's nothing but Trump derangement, okay? And a lot of people start thinking in their heads, well, how in the world can anybody vote for this guy, right? How can anybody vote for this? And then it turns out that, hey, maybe it's actually you. Maybe you're the one that's out of touch with the rest of the country, right? Maybe it's you. Maybe you're the one that is not really as good at analyzing what's going on, whether that be the polls, whether it be just the general landscape of politics in general. Maybe it's actually you. Maybe you misled your audience to the point where people decided to abandon you, because let's just go ahead and play some clips of these leftists and the things they were saying before the election. Take a look.
And I'm going to go look up what the actual result was from the Iowa sales poll, and it's going to be like Trump +9. Like somebody's, the first tweet I saw, it said Kamala +3. I'm like, nope, that can't be right. I gotta fact check that. This is just a rando Twitter account. It can't possibly be right. It is right. 3 seconds later, they started talking about it on CNN. Wow. Nobody could have seen this strong of a result for Kamala coming out of Iowa. And again, that is for the other states, they got to be in panic mode right now, bro. Because a poll like this means it now, without a doubt, a very comfortable victory for Kamala is on the table.
The major pollsters, who are supposedly the most reputable, herding, which means basically punting and calling it 50-50, right? Or 1 point up here, 1 point down here. They don't mention that. And they also don't mention there is an entire cottage industry of Republican pollsters whose sole job is to pretend like Republicans are up way more than they are, right? Now, to be fair, people say, well, those pollsters were the most correct in 2020. But what they don't tell you is they were the most incorrect in 2022, which is more recent, when everybody and their grandma said there was going to be a massive red wave, a historic red wave. All those pollsters said, the biggest red wave you've ever seen. And it wasn't. It was barely a red trickle. Democrats massively overperformed. Okay, so if you have one cottage industry of like 10 different pollsters that are right-wing hack pollsters who are lying, and then the reputable pollsters are just punting and calling it 50-50, it's giving you a misleading picture of a super close race, or if anything, Trump is slightly up. When all of the real data we have, if anything, is showing the opposite. Namely, there's one super thorough poll from YouGov. They are not herding. They did 48,000 likely voters, and they found Kamala +4. The Seltzer poll had Kamala +3 in Iowa, a state she should be losing by 10 points. And then you have the early voting numbers, which have been very good for Kamala and the Democrats. And so this is what they're saying. I'm way more bullish on Kamala than they are, which is why my bad map for Kamala, as I pointed out, is Kamala 276. My good map for Kamala is Kamala 355, where she wins Iowa and Florida.
Polymarket, which is the Peter Thiel associated prediction market, has it for Trump by roughly 62-38. This is, of course, the big criticism of this is totally being pushed by rich Trump supporters dumping money in for Trump, and it doesn't really reflect the likely outcomes, but this has it at roughly 62. This is going to be close electorally unless it's not, and let me explain that. One of the growing narratives about all of the polling is that there is herding going on. Herding being the idea that you have a bunch of polls clustered around a coin flip, and then that you come in as a pollster, you do a poll and you go, oh my goodness, it's looking like a Kamala blowout. I don't want to be the outlier here. I don't want to be really wrong. I'd rather be as wrong as everybody else. So then you get a poll that says, I think Kamala's going to crush. And you say, well, let me adjust some of the crosstabs and the methodology and the sampling and the weighting so that my poll ends up looking just like all the others. And then the next poll comes in and does the same thing. So there is a possibility, if that theory is convincing to you, there is a possibility that this is not close. If it's not close, it's tough to imagine Trump blowing out Kamala. It's easier to imagine Kamala Harris blowing out Trump.
Yeah. According to David Pakman, just a few days ago, it's hard to imagine Trump blowing out Kamala, but it's easy to imagine Kamala Harris blowing out Trump, despite the fact that all of the data, right, the actual real data that you should have been paying attention to, the trends from the past, right, historical analysis suggested otherwise, that, hey, you know, maybe these pollsters are underestimating Trump. Everything these people said and how they evaluated the current state of the race is the exact opposite of what I was saying. Right? Let me give you an example. Okay? Kyle Kalinske believed the Iowa poll. Right? Now, when that poll came out, what did I say? I said that that was a hopium poll. That was a poll that was put out as propaganda to motivate Democrats to vote because Kamala is losing. Right? That's what I said. Turns out I was right. Trump blew out Kamala in Iowa. Well, how did you know that? Well, that's because Iowa's a red state. Okay? It's a deeply red state. Trump won it in 2016 and he won it in 2020. Why in the world would I believe that he would lose it in 2024 to Kamala, who's the most far left presidential candidate that Democrats have ever nominated? Why would you believe that? In what world could that poll had actually been real? Considering how all the polls leading up to that and afterwards were saying, nah, that poll is fake. But the leftists came out and said, no, those polls that came after the Seltzer poll, no, those polls were fake. Even though those polls aligned with historic data, right? The polls that were aligning with historic data were wrong. But the poll that was clearly an outlier, no, that's right. That's right. In fact, Kamala might win Florida, right? There's going to be a blue wave. This is what Kyle Kalinske predicted based off a clearly fake poll. Hilarious. Hilarious. He also tried to use the 2022 midterms as a reason for why there would be a blue wave. Basically saying that, well, Kamala's support has been underestimated because everybody thought that Democrats were going to lose big time in 2022, but they didn't. But see, again, this is what this guy doesn't understand. It's probably not very wise to compare midterms to a general election, right? It's probably much safer to compare general elections to general elections because the dynamics of midterms are different. Trump was not on the ballot in the midterms. And we know for a fact that when Trump's on the ballot, Republicans overperform, right? Republicans do very well when Trump is on the ballot. That happened in 2016, that happened in 2020, and you will be a fool to believe that it wouldn't happen in 2024. Also, what I find to be fascinating is that all of these left-wing individuals fail for this theory that, well, Kamala's not really winning in the polls as much as we'd like. There may be a blue landslide, a blue wave, because the pollsters are hurting, okay? They're actually not underestimating Trump. They're overestimating Trump because they don't want to be wrong, okay? They don't want to be wrong about Trump winning or the election being close, so therefore they're underestimating Kamala Harris. Now, I was saying the exact opposite of that. I said, no, actually, the polls are not a reflection of how people feel. It's a reflection of how the establishment, the Democrats, the media, how they want people to feel. And they want people to feel like Kamala Harris is doing much better than she actually is because she's not very popular. The reason why I know this is because Kamala Harris couldn't get a vote in the Democrat primary back in 2019 when she first ran for president. So why would anybody believe that the most unpopular vice president in recent history, more unpopular than Dick Cheney, all of a sudden became so popular and so loved and so great? Why would I believe that? Why would I believe that? Even the way that Kamala Harris was acting, the way that she was campaigning was an indication that she was losing, right? The fact that she went and did the Fox News interview was an indication that she's losing. That they were getting desperate, all the Hollywood celebrities, all the things they were doing, it was obvious that they were losing momentum. It was super obvious. I think the polls are rigged. And I told you guys that leading up to the election, even on election day, I told you, yeah, I think the polls are rigged, right? They're definitely underestimating Trump. And I kept telling you guys that Trump can win in a landslide because although the polls have Trump and Kamala basically tied due to Trump tending to overperform the polls in a general election, that a landslide is on the table. Lo and behold, look what happened. Look what happened. That is why these individuals are losing followers. You're not losing followers just because people check it out. You're losing followers because you were wrong. Because your credibility is shot. You let your Trump derangement and your hopium get in the way of the objective reality of what was happening. That's what happened. That's why you're losing followers. That's it. And again, it's just amazing to me to watch these people come out here and to engage in mental gymnastics for why is it that people are abandoning them after they basically misled their audience for the last 3 to 4 months straight. Again, a lot of these individuals are people that refuse to acknowledge that Biden was mentally declining. Oh no, Trump is the one that's mentally declining, not Biden, right? The alternative leftist media, they're just as much of a joke as the mainstream liberal media, right? Just leftist media in general is a complete and total joke. Both are very disconnected from reality, right? Both were high as hell off hopium, and now they want to act shocked and surprised that they were wrong, and their audiences are saying, yeah, we're out, right? We don't believe you guys anymore. This is probably one of the most hilarious reality checks that I've ever seen. Leftists realizing that, oh, wait, people don't like propaganda, right? People don't like being lied to. People don't like hopium. Oh, I'm not a very credible person. Yeah, that's what's happening, right? That's what's happening. People aren't just tuning out. You've lost a whole lot of credibility because you let your Trump derangement get in the way of objective reality. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.